Hi, my name is Nikita Patel,
I'm Alexis Atherley.
and we're students from Inderkum High School. Today we are interviewing Mr. Manuel Perez. He's the Dean, Equity, Programs and Pathways at American River College.
So one of the first questions we have for you today is, when is early registration? How do we then register? What is the process that students would have to undergo in order to register at American River College?
So for all of the graduating seniors that are actually participating in this program that we have going on at American River College, the program's called Fresh Fridays. So for all of the students who are graduating seniors who are part of the Fresh Fridays program, they will be going through a process with your local counselors and with our counselors here at the community college at American River College to make sure that we get what we call priority registration for each of your students within the district, within the TOMAS, which includes Inderkum. And so that's something that we will work out with your local counselors, and that will be during the first full week of May. So, and we'll decide on the date with your counselors, but you'll get that well in advance, and that'll be an opportunity for you to take in your assessment scores and see where you're going to place at different levels of English and different levels of math. And we'll make sure that you get an opportunity to talk to a counselor about how to actually sign up for classes, which classes are going to help you, and in the long run this will help you to minimize how long you're at the community college.
Okay. And so then how does the transfer program work at community colleges?
So in terms of moving beyond the community college?
Yes.
Okay, so you'll have lots of opportunities to take courses to fulfill what we call your core requirements or your undergraduate requirements so that you then transfer to a four-year institution if that's your goal. Some students will have an opportunity to get a certificate and then they'll go into their careers from there. But for those folks that are interested in transfer, we have a lot of opportunities. We have a transfer center on campus and we have lots of dedicated counselors that will help each student to kind of go through what their plan is, how that plan is going to inform their major, their career focus. And then we talk to students about, well, where do you want to study? What do you want to study? What would you like to do in the long run? Do you like helping people? Do you like logical equations and formulas? These are the careers that relate to that. These are the schools that are really good for that. Let's help you get you set up with all of that stuff.
So then as a follow-up, how does a student's performance in a community college then help them move on to the school that they wish to transfer to, or how do they make themselves eligible so that way they can transfer successfully?
Right. So I think one of the key things that transfer institutions look for is that you have this satisfactory academic progress, right? And that's a term that you'll hear, your academic progress, your retention, how you have done in the college in terms of your grades, but also how involved are you? You know, are you pretty connected on campus? Are you involved in leadership opportunities? Have you become connected to the community so that you're not just going and coming back to home to school? But we make sure that you have all of those in place, and this is the best place to get a very, very focused opportunity to build relationships with faculty, with the teachers, right, with the professors. Sometimes when you go to a four-year institution directly, you'll be sitting in classes with hundreds of students at a time. And so you won't get as much individualized attention, and making that jump sometimes from high school into that specific environment, we have tons of folks that do it all the time. But sometimes it can be a little bit jarring, a little bit of a culture shock. And so the community college is a really good opportunity to build those close relationships with college professors who have connections at the four-year institution, and they will help you to build those bridges a little bit more specifically. You'll get all of your undergraduate or your core requirements, most of them done before you transfer, so that's a good thing. It saves you a lot of money as well. Whether you're going to a CSU, a UC, out of state, private, all of those cost money, right? A lot more money than it does to come to the community college. So that's one of the added benefits as well. So we help you with all of that to make yourself look more, ready, more prepared for that transfer opportunity. These are all examples of different ways you can get involved. But when you put on an application to UC Berkeley, we have a lot of our students that are transferring there, and you tell them, on top of getting a really satisfactory GPA, let's say we got a really good GPA, on top of that, I'm also an ambassador. I also do a lot of the community programming that talks about racial justice, talks about systems of racism and privilege and how we kind of work on those in the school systems and how we help out students. A college or a university is gonna go, wow, you did all of that and you were still filling out your core requirements. Let's get you in, let's do this. And so that's what we try to focus on.
Okay. So if a student was to attend a community college until they were eligible to transfer, what are the chances that that specific student could transfer to the college of their choice?
So the chances are very high. It really depends on how you have mapped out your courses. So one of the key things that you want to do as an incoming graduating senior moving into the community college with your eye towards transfer, you want to absolutely make sure that you stay connected to a counselor. The difference is at the high school, you'll have more opportunities potentially for a high school counselor to know where you are at and what you are doing and how you are doing. But at the community college, it really is up to you to reach out to the counselor, because there are about 30 to 33,000 students on this campus. We have several dozen counselors, but if you do the math, it's not going to equate to someone being able to reach out to you daily or weekly and say, hey, I haven't seen you. It really is on the student to at least know, I need to make the connection. We take it from there though. It is on us to reach out to our students and make sure they're successful. So it depends. If you are a biomedical engineer major and that's where you want to focus, you want to transfer out to maybe UC Davis, that pathway might look a little different than somebody who has a different major and wants to transfer to a different part of the country, we'll say. It depends on all those factors, but we help you figure that out and map it out so that if you feel like this is too long, I can't do this, too expensive, I can't do this, or mom and dad don't want me to do this, but I do. We talk through all those options with you because we're here to support you.
So for those students that are planning to then transfer and also come to community college first, what if they have AP and IB credits? How do those credits then transfer in possibly the community college system, the transfer system, the 4-year system?
Mm-hmm.
How do those credits go about? How would they take their classes eventually?
Mm-hmm. So I know I'm giving the same answer for a lot of things, which is it depends. But when you do have any kind of advanced placement credit or anything else that could maybe potentially qualify for you to not have to take certain assessment tests or you can place into certain levels of whether that be English or reading or writing. Some of our courses have what we call prerequisites. I think that's a term that many high school students are very familiar with. That depending on what it is that you already took in high school in terms of credit, advanced placement, anything like that, it might justify at least not having to go through that assessment process for certain courses or for certain types of placements. But that's something that we help you out with through our counseling center. Our counseling center is very, very good at reaching out to students, talking to our assessment center folks, and they're the ones who run all of those tests and exams and making sure that we have the right alignment for where you need to go for your next class or your next course.
So if we had a high school student that wanted to go to ARC and then transfer after 2 years, but let's say they were interested in a UC. So I know UC Davis and UC San Diego, you can do guaranteed transfers, but I recognize that UCLA and UC Berkeley label themselves as non-guaranteed transfers. Do you know what that is, and can you elaborate a little bit on that, what non-guaranteed transfer is?
So I'm going to recommend that you connect with a counselor to talk about those specifically. What I can tell you is that a lot of that has to do with the timing and the rate at which a student moves through their courses here at the community college level, and that's different for every person. So back in the day, it used to be very certain that we can say that in 2 years you will absolutely make it out of the community college and move and transition into the guaranteed UC of your choice. And that's something that we used to call an intersegmental guaranteed transfer, and it was a contract that we had. Those are in place somewhat, and then what you're hearing right now is the narrative around no longer guaranteeing that, and much of that has to do with the fact that students are moving through the system in very different ways because of funding, because of changes in how the state says that we can give financial aid or assistance or loans or grants or scholarships to our students. And money is connected to how you move through a system, right? Money is connected to how you feel that you can move faster or slower. And that's why it becomes more of a technical issue with how you might be guaranteed transfer in that time frame. But that changes. It changes based on how our state legislators decide to fund certain programs or not, or provide more financial aid at either the state level or the federal level.
So in addition to that, if a student then wanted to transfer to a private school, would their courses still transfer? Because I had seen on your website that most courses are UCCSU transferable. Is that the same for then private schools?
Typically. It depends on the private school. So for example, I went to Cosumnes River College and I transferred to Santa Clara University, which is a private institution. And so most of the courses transfer to some level of equivalent course at the four-year institution, but it really depends. The way it transfers for a private institution might not be exactly the same as it would transfer to a UC. Typically with the private though, you're able to find some way in which a course, if it doesn't apply to a core requirement, it might apply to a general elective for that same major requirement that you might have with that institution. But the privates depend exclusively on how their courses align to our course catalog. And for that, that's another example of why you need to get in very early with the counselor to say, I may want to go to a private institution and I want to do bioengineering. So how would that work? Yeah.
Okay, so how does the education offered at community colleges differ from education offered in other schools? For example, are there smaller class sizes, or can you elaborate on the benefits that you see?
So just to clarify, so community colleges and like universities and colleges that are transfer, or other community colleges?
Just like other community colleges,
Okay.
or yeah.
Okay, so American River College compared to other community colleges, so there's specific things that we do very well that I think, as someone who went through the Los Rios Community College, that's our district, right? I went to Consumnes River College, I now work at American River College. Some of the things that are amazing, we have very amazing programs that are specialized in certain content areas. So we have an amazing hospitality area of courses. Specifically, we have some culinary courses that are award-winning. We have our own, what we call it, the Oak Cafe. And that Oak Cafe is the whole entire restaurant, dining, and hospitality experience. It's completely student-led, student-run. Everything goes through courses in our hospitality area. So the students are the servers, the students are the hosts, the students are managing reservations, they're calling and doing catering for large parties. So you get the whole experience. I think we do that really well as a big example. We have those same kinds of very unique programs also offered in technical education as you go specifically to different areas of design. If you want to practice engineering through your design education in technical education, you can do that. We have 3D printing and 3D printer machines where you get to learn the nuances of how you actually get from a place where you're working a design on paper to actually getting a 3D printed design, and what that means in terms of the math and the physics associated with that and all the different compounds associated with that. We have a very good STEM program, a very good STEM focus. We're actually giving a big presentation to our Board of Trustees about that in about a week and a half. We have a lot of really strong programs. We're the only college in all 4 colleges of our district that have what we call TRIO programs. A TRIO program is funded by the federal government, and it's all geared towards helping first-generation students, students that are low income, or students with disabilities to get through college, to get support they need, to have one dedicated counselor that you can always go back to, and that's very rare. You don't find that everywhere, and that's because at the college level, it's very difficult to have the same dedicated counselor. So those are a few quick ARC moments, highlights. There's other ones, but those are the big ones.
So getting a little more specific to then ARC, if a student was going through their 2 years and had a major choice but then decided to change and possibly drop classes, how might they go about that process?
Talk to a counselor before you drop anything for sure, because it depends on where you are in the semester. It depends on whether or not if you're 1 week into a semester versus let's say maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks into the semester, that's going to make a big difference on how you have received your money to pay for those courses. So what you might want to avoid is having to pay for certain courses and then you switch out too late in the semester, which is fine. Maybe you feel better about your academic choice. You're going to want to talk to a counselor about, wait a minute, what does that mean for the money that I've already paid for those courses? Do I get a refund? Do I have to pay back? So those are all really important questions to know in advance that a lot of our students don't know. So we always say, talk to a counselor before you do anything at all.
Okay, so do you have any final advice for a senior that's that's not too sure about what major they want to pursue? Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of the times you come into the college experience thinking, I need to know what I want to do, I need to know how I want to do it, and I need to make sure I don't waste time because I don't have money to waste time. I think those are good conversations to have with the counselor early and just say, I don't know what I want to do, but think about it generally. I like helping people. I really like math. I really don't like math. I know that. Even those things are steps in the right direction towards getting where you do want to be. If you know absolutely what you don't want to do, or you know that you like this general area of focus, let's figure it out. don't be afraid to explore at college. The last piece of advice would be ask questions. I'll be the first one to tell you I didn't ask any questions when I was at CRC because I thought I was bothering people or that people didn't have time. They always looked so busy and I didn't want to stop and have them answer my question. That's what we're there for. We're there to help out and provide some assistance with that. So don't be afraid to ask those questions if you need it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you.